McHale who gets the catch. He's got Patrol.
So it begins. High school girls basketball opening week continues. As the White Bear Lake Area Bears, finalists in Section 4-4A, host the Elk River Elks. I'm Mike Pete and he is Ted LaRue. Ted, we've got a pair of dark horses tonight. White Bear Lake, not a lot is known about them. They graduated a lot of talent from a year ago, and the team that gave Stillwater a serious run in the section final, and Elk River came within a point of beating Maple Grove in the section semifinal. In 8-4A, Maple Grove won the section that year and made it to the tournament.
These are two teams, as you just said, that were right there 1 year ago, as we mentioned. White Bear Lake losing in the section final to Stillwater, and we were both on hand for that game. And White Bear Lake, I believe, was leading at halftime of that one. They could miss from outside in that one. And this Elk River team, solid team as well, as you mentioned, losing in the semifinals in Section 8. Last season. This was a team that was right there, and Mike, you've been covering, of course, basketball around this area for a long time. You know how close things can get, especially in those big school section tournaments, and I think both teams, these teams, as you said, dark horses in their respective sections, so you got to watch out for these, both of these teams early on, so White Bear Lake looking to possibly make some noise and put a dent in their season, or Elk River season, I should say, to start off the season.
That being said, Elk River, it would not be a surprise if they made a run in Section 8. They returned their top 8 players in scoring from last season, and there is some precedent. Elk River won it all in 2017, going undefeated, knocking off Hopkins, which is never easy to do. And it took them a little while to rebuild. That group had a senior class, a senior heavy unit, including Miss Basketball winner that year, Gabby Hawk, who is having a fantastic season at Bradley. And there's the head coach, Jeremy DiGiovanni. His first year as head coach for Elk River was the state championship season in 2017, the first of any kind for the Elks.
Oh, what a way to start off a career at high school by winning a state championship. Was that the last time Hopkins lost, by the way?
No, Hopkins lost last year to Eastview, or I should say 2018. That is not Jeremy Post, but assure us, you can be assured he is in there. He's in the huddle.
It seems like that was the last time Hopkins lost. But this is an Elk River team, as you said, a recent state championship victory. There were 3 girls that were on that team back in 2017 as we take a peek at Jeremy Post.
There is Jeremy Post, who made it to the championship round in 2010 in Class 4A. White Bear Lake lost to Lakeville North that year. That team having Rachel Banna, who now plays for the Connecticut Sun, and Cassie Rochelle, who had a great career with the Panthers. White Bear Lake last getting to the tournament in 2017. As you noted, these two teams met in the quarterfinal round. Since then, it's been kind of a topsy-turvy in Section 4. Elk River with the first possession. Their starters are Sophia Tobin, number 5, Michaela Cannon-Wisher, number 10, number 11, Lydia Hawk. That'll stay with Elk River. 23, Alexa Ingebretson, and 25, Ellie Mass. White Bear Lake starting number 4, Kayla Anderson, number 10, Danielle Madden, number 21, Ella Janicki, number 22, Julia Julik, and number 45, Lauren Eckerly. Tristan Lehner recovering from an ACL injury last year, not at 100% yet, but should return to the lineup soon. And Jeremy Post told me a couple of other players are coming back from injuries sustained in other sports, including Kayla Anderson. So
good pressure right off the bat. Elk River, a lot of passing on the perimeter, weren't able to kind of get into their offense, pushing them out beyond the rings here, and as Elk River will inbound after that one. And I think in all stages of basketball, getting that great perimeter, a woman-on-woman defense can really mess things up for an offense.
A lot of unknowns, though, in particular for White Bear Lake. But last year, as Elk River misses the baseline J, that was Ellie Mass. Last year, White Bear Lake, that's a double dribble violation. Ted, I'm glad we've got a spotter in you because I would have missed it. No, but White Bear Lake in that regular season series with Stillwater. They got crushed, I think 30, 40-point losses, and then they led at halftime and didn't have enough to coast the finish. But this White Bear Lake team, considering the coaching pedigree of Jeremy Post and how they perform, it wouldn't surprise me if this White Bear Lake team becomes one of the sleepers as the season moves along.
Them, we're talking about Section 4, pesky team. Woodbury's another one like that. That's pesky. They're very difficult to beat. They're very aggressive at both ends of the floor. And when they get hot, as we saw, as we can see a score here for the Elks, the first points on the board. But when they get hot, good things happen.
Michaela Cannonwisher converts the high-low for the Elks. And she will have the distinction of being the player to score the first points for Elk River this season. This is game one. Game one out of a possible 32. White Bear Lake drives, comes up short, the rebound going to Ellie Mass.
Nice move by Janicki there. She brought the ball up the floor. You can tell they're looking to get her the ball and run the offense through her.
And that's Lydia Hawk, who scores the and one. She'll have a chance at three.
It looks like Elk River wants to push the basketball to the other end there. They kind of caught White Bear Lake sleeping. And you know what they say about a bear in hibernation, right? Don't wake it up.
I'm sure that's not the first time they've heard that around here. Lydia Hawk cannot convert the three-point play. She is the younger sister of Gabby Hawk, the 2017 Miss Basketball winner, now a junior at Bradley. Bradley will be getting another Minnesota recruit next season in TT Danzo, who's headed to Simley. And getting a friendly bounce on White Bear Lake is Julia Julick.
Just spotting up short corner. Nice soft touch.
Julick, the 5'9" senior. And White Bear Lake forcing the turnover.
You saw it again. Elk River looking to push the basketball and, looking to get behind this White Bear Lake defense. And almost paid off there yet again.
White Bear Lake in the non-conference portion of the season. They'll play all non-conference teams to start November. Elk River tonight. Next week, Robbinsdale Armstrong comes here, and they've been an annual participant at the Pat Patterson tip-off at Hamlin. They will play Lakeville South and Rosemount. Rosemount, a potential sleeper team in Section 3 4A. That's going to be a foul on Michaela Cannonwisher.
Both teams almost playing body to body here on the perimeter, looking to push them out towards the 10-foot volleyball line, and really making them beat them off the dribble. Like we said, once you put that pressure defense on them, as you see right here, it forces them to make plays off the dribble.
A blocking foul is called on Sophia Tobin.
We are just a couple of minutes into this, so you can tell it's an early season game. I believe that's the fifth foul in just a couple of minutes here. So both teams trying to get into a groove, but a lot of fouls being committed early in this one.
Opening day jitters, not uncommon in this sport, and really any high school sport, because some teams you get scrimmages, but you don't have a true preseason game like you do in college and the pros. So Stillwater had one scrimmage before they get things going tomorrow at the Breakdown Tip-Off Classic. And these two schools, Elk River only had a chance to get one scrimmage in. White Bear Lake, one scrimmage, a couple weeks of practice. And I saw this last night with Providence Maranatha. You're going to see some turnovers, just some unforced errors that will decrease over time.
Yeah, and we got some big, as you said, you got the breakdown, Pat Patterson Classic, things like that, as we get a 3 attempt here and it goes down. But you see a lot of these big high-profile matchups early on, and it's fun to see, but when you get later in the season, it's all these teams aren't the same. So it's fun to see, but sometimes things can change as the year goes on.
They can change indeed. Lydia Hawk scoring for the Elks. Lauren Eckerly knocked down the three-pointer for White Bear Lake, and the Elks have an early 6-5 lead. Well, those early season jitters can open the door for some surprising upsets. And then as you get to February, March, this is what makes Section 4 so tough, for example. As White Bear Lake is driving, now they kick back out. Most of the section made up of Suburban East teams, so you often get a third meeting.
I love that defense right there for Elk River. White Bear Lake tries to set a high ball screen A defender comes out, hedges on the screen, and it allows, and now you essentially got a double team. And now that pressures the White Bear Lake player to force a bad pass there. I love the defensive structure that Elk River is playing with right now.
14:20 left in the first half, 6-5 in favor of Elk River. Opening day for these two schools. The season officially began yesterday. And many will get their start in Tip-Off Classic tomorrow, and White Bear Lake turns it over.
See it again, another double team at the top. And it forces a turnover this time as well. Looks like that's what Elk River is looking to do, be very aggressive at the top of the key and beyond the perimeter there. Make White Bear Lake beat you off the dribble. Right now it's proven that they cannot do that.
Last meeting between these two in the state quarterfinals, as you can see on the screen. Elk River won that one 52-44. Elk River won it all that year, going undefeated. Hopkins finally got that undefeated state championship accolade last year, but it was a tough climb. And for Elk River, it did a lot to galvanize that community. I remember going up there after the season, and Gabby Hawk was a household name up there.
Yeah, a season like that can do a lot. As you said, Gabby won Miss Basketball as well in the state. Is nice three there.
Later, you see that brace on her left knee from ACL surgery, but White Bear Lake finding their stroke from the perimeter early.
This is a team we know, we've seen it, that this is a team that when they get hot from three-point land, they'll keep on shooting.
Johanna Langben is fouled, and she'll shoot two. Elk River still has three players from that 2017 state championship team. Lydia Hawk, Cannon Wisher, and Inga Bretson. Lydia Hawk having to play some minutes off the bench due to injury on that team, and Jeremy Giovanni told me before the game, we may not have won if it wasn't for Lydia. A lot of attention, as you see Langben averaged 14.7 points per game last year.
That experience at the state tournament can really help if you use that experience going through a deep playoff run like that, especially to the younger players, and that really helps your culture and build a winning culture as well.
Elk River had a rebuilding year following that state championship with 18-10 last year. What Jeremy DiGiovanni would like to see out of Elk River is closing out more games. White Bear Lake, again, a lot of unknowns, and they throw it right to Michaela Cannon-Wisher. Elks trying to execute in fast break, and they will.
That was set up once again, third time's the charm, a beautiful double team at the top, and it forced a turnover yet again. If White Bear Lake wants to hang in this one, they've got to figure out a way to find the open woman once the double team is applied on the perimeter.
Baseline was wide open. White Bear Lake couldn't convert, but they'll knock down a three.
Keller draining it from downtown, and that's the way. I think that's the way to beat it right now, is once you get past it, there's some open shots on the perimeter.
Elk River scores quickly on the other end. Johanna Langben, that was Addie Bachmeyer, the sophomore, hitting the three for the Bears. They have 3 triples already. If I didn't know any better, I would say we were at Stillwater right now. We were used to that over there.
Yes, we are.
Well, White Bear Lake, they can drive it as well. Ella Janicki does just that, and Elk River will call a timeout. The Bears up 13-11.
Great move by Janicki, and that proves, see, the thing is now if they can beat Elk River defenders off the ball, they might think twice about those double teams at the top, because they know White Bear Lake can get into the paint pretty easily.
And sometimes if you knock down those threes, it can open things up down low, because now the opponent will have to respect that.
I think right now what the Bears just have to do is limit their turnovers. Is if you do get in a double team situation, don't panic. The worst thing you can do is panic. Make sure you don't get into a double team situation in the corner that basically adds an extra defender and things like that. Don't panic. No shot clock. You know, you've got time. Obviously, you've got the 5-second rule, but don't panic. You know, as we take a look at the Suburban East standings from the season.
Yeah. I don't remember. Stillwater went undefeated that year?
Yeah, I think so.
White Bear Lake in the middle of the pack. Don't panic. I think you've been hanging around your boss too long. That's a line he often says. It's a good line, though, no matter what field of work you're in or sport. Don't panic. There's always a solution. And, White Bear Lake again in the middle of the pack. We'll see what happens this year. Stillwater the favorite again in the Suburban East, although if you talk to Willie Taylor, he would say here's White Bear Lake doubling at the top.
Traveling violation. They're giving Elk River a taste of their own medicine. I think both teams are looking to extend the ball. They're looking to put pressure on them and force them back at the college basketball level. You see that a lot. You've seen that a lot over the years from Duke, is they like to play the ball outside here. Don't let them get too close to the paint. Is play them man-to-man, get right in their grill, so to speak, and make them beat you off the bounce.
Bring the pressure early. Julik loses the ball to Ingebretson. Elk River. They'll back off. Lydia Hawk will look to reset. He's got a wide open Cannon Wisher. She can't hit from the corner. The rebound to Eckerly. And she loses it to Hawk. I should say Cannon Wisher. So Elk River will get another try out of this. They swing it around again.
Good ball movement, good rotation on this possession from Elk River.
And that leads to a pure three-pointer from Alexa Ingebretson.
That's all about patience. We talk about not panicking at one end of the floor. Patience, rotating, not forcing anything. Good job of the Elks right there.
Janicki kicks out to Lehner for three. Bullseye.
They are on fire here to start from downtown. They've hit a couple of threes here to start things off, and it's followed by an Elk River turnover. Right now, once White Bear Lake gets off the bounce, they're attracting the defense in the lane and kicking out for that open three. Those threes are very open right now.
4 3-pointers to be precise. And as you noted, that long distance shooting, it helped them give Stillwater a run in the section final last year. And it certainly can help when they're going down in this one. Last year, they had a few seniors, and as we said, they're not superstars at White Bear Lake, but they have a lot of strong athletes, so they'll throw it away there. They have well-coached athletes, and as you noted, they don't panic. This is game one, and these two, Jeremy Post and Jeremy DiGiovanni, it's a game they were looking forward to, but they know there's a long way to go. It's a 3-month-long season. It's a long time to patch things up from game one to the first round of sections.
Good help defense there. I like the rotation defensively, but just coming over the top a little bit too much. That's where you just got to put your arm straight in the air, play straight up defense. If they beat you, they beat you.
Langben back at the line, and Kayla Anderson picks up her second foul.
I think maybe Elk River's strategy, get it down inside. You can tell they've definitely got the size advantage in terms of height down there. And we'll see if the Elks expose that, because it's not the first time she's been at the free throw line tonight.
She knocks down both. Langben now 3 of 4. Had a season high 26 points last year in the win over Anoka, one of the Northwest Suburban Conference rivals. And we're tied at 16 with 10:18 to go. Jeremy DiGiovanni told me he thought this would be a low-scoring game, but White Bear Lake, they're not a team that's going to score in the 70s and 80s like Hopkins and Stillwater, but they're knocking down threes, and Elk River, they are flourishing inside.
Oh boy, you go right inside, right on cue, getting the ball in the paint, and that's what they got to do. Obviously, just said it, they got the clear size advantage. They go inside, they're going to have a great time.
And they're trying to time those passes as well. They almost got the steal there. Langben up to 7 points. So it could be a battle of Elk River's interior against White Bear Lake's perimeter. Joanna Langben, the 6'2" junior forward. And another thing in Elk River's favor is that chemistry. As we noted, 2017-18, a rebuilding year. And now this current group, they've had 2 or 3 years to work with each other.
I'll say this, when you go 18-10 in a rebuilding year, that's pretty good. You know you got a good program.
And within a point of beating the section champions. Yep. Section 8, Jeremy DiGiovanni feels could be a wide open group. Elk River, Maple Grove has a strong team, and St. Michael, Albertville. They've got Mackenzie Kramer, the Lehigh commit. So you may remember her from that dazzling layup as a member of Becker.
Both of those programs, both of those schools, Maple Grove and St. Michael Albertville, seems they're in section finals all throughout the year in many sports, and so girls basketball just another one for those schools.
Ella Janicki shooting free throws. Cannon Wisher with her second foul. This is White Bear Lake's first trip to the line. Ella Janicki, the 5'7" senior.
Early in this one, as we mentioned, White Bear Lake was having trouble with that perimeter defense. Ever since then, ever since they've been able to break that, they've really been able to bust this game open. As now it remains a 1-point game, but we continue to go back and forth.
Elk River looking to go fast break. No good. Langbank can't save it. White Bear Lake, they've got numbers to push, but I don't think they have the speed there, but they do have an open three. Bachmeyer can't knock it down. Hawk loses it. Number 24, Paige Nordstrom. Nordstrom steps into a three. In and out.
They're not afraid to take those shots. I love the confidence that White Bear Lake is playing with right now. Not afraid to spot up, take the open jumper from downtown.
Hawk, bounce pass, nice move, and Langban will have a chance at three.
Beautiful crossover dribble to free her up to get into the paint and allowed to get it to Langban right now, and that's their strategy. They're going inside, because they know the Bears can't match up with the size of Langban right now.
And Johanna Langban finding a rhythm. She can cross double digits here if she makes this free throw. And I jinxed her. I should know better than to bring up free throws. Remember Liza Carlin?
Yes.
White Bear Lake trailing 2017. Elk River bringing the pressure again.
They backed off a little bit before. They're just playing solid woman-to-woman defense, not going after too many double teams right here.
Elk River trying to protect the interior, keep White Bear Lake on the outside. Lehner, hesitation, and right into a double team, but she draws the blocking foul. And Elk River now out of fouls to give. And that was a shooting foul. I'm surprised they gave Lehner the shooting motion, but chance for White Bear Lake to pick up a couple points here.
That's her first foul. Watch out. It'll be interesting to see as Lehner hits her first. It'll be interesting to see if they attack Langban on the inside. See if they can possibly get her into foul trouble. It's his first, so just something to keep an eye on here as this game progresses.
Lehner, the 5'10" junior forward, got significant minutes last year before her injury. Timeout. Jeremy DiGiovanni, both teams with 4 remaining. 20-18 our score. It's been neck and neck, and again with opening day, sometimes when you have two teams as evenly matched as these two groups are, you just want to get footloose.
Pretty competitive game here as the first couple of games here at White Bear Lake, freshman game and JV game, were lopsided in favor of the Elks. So this is a refreshing here as we take a look at points in the paint. Such a big part of what both teams want to do. White Bear Lake lost their top 2 scorers from last season, including Courtney Crouch. They're looking for their first season opener win in the opener since 2016. But as you mentioned, the Elks last year rebuilding year, but this year they got their top 5 scorers from last year. More of a defensive team. They score 54 points a game, but as we said, they can definitely score the ball.
8:05 remaining in the first half, and Lehner tried to go backdoor. Instead, it's going to be a jump ball. Elk River with the arrow. And I haven't touched on this yet, but I'll remind you that black semicircle is in use in Minnesota high school basketball. It's the second year now where we've had the restricted zone, so I imagine with everyone having a year to get used to it, that won't be too much of a problem.
You covered probably more high school basketball than anybody in Minnesota last year. Your thoughts, your thoughts on what you've seen with the semicircle, good, bad? What have you seen last year?
Lydia Hawk scoring for the Elks. It's hard to really point out. It's not something you pay attention to as a broadcaster per se, but what I think it did is free up the middle as Lehner fires the three. It's short. White Bear Lake trying to make that three-point game work. So that restricted zone, it's used in the pros. The NBA was the first one to do it. College adopted it. To me, it was only a matter of time because otherwise you'd get a lot of bodies down there. It can clog the paint, and whether it's basketball players or NASCAR races, as you know, if you get a lot of traffic or a lot of crowding in one area, crazy things can happen, and that's, I think, the highest risk for injury. So it just gives teams a little more space, and I think it helps, as Ingebretson hits a three-pointer, it puts a little more onus on the defense to play smart, because now you have to make sure you establish yourself outside the circle. I
agree. I definitely like the rule for all the reasons that you said. It definitely encourages fundamental defense as we see a three here. White Bear Lake back on track. I believe that was Janicki.
It was Janicki, and we keep this up, we might have to drop the best-known single from the Gap Band, because we're dropping three-point bombs all over the place. White Bear Lake with their 5th triple.
A little bit of a high-low action here. You see Langben on the top. They put a guard down in the paint. A little high-low actions. Shades of the swing offense as well, with the guard posting up, down low, moving the ball, a little high-low action. A little mixing it up there for Elk River. Like to see that.
Janicki draws the foul at Ellie Mass, who scored the last bucket for the Elks. So White Bear Lake will shoot 1 and 1 as they are in the bonus.
As I said, there are shades of the swing offense, high-low action, where you see the post player set an up screen for the guard, put him down there in the post. I was like that. Obviously, grew up watching Wisconsin. That's a staple of the Bo Ryan system. The guards being able to post up down there. I like players who are versatile like that.
Well, versatility is becoming such a crucial element in the sport of high school hoops. The stretch four, how many times have we said that phrase in the last few years?
It's the stretch four is such a phenomenon now. It seems like it started with Dirk Nowitzki back in the day with the Dallas Mavericks, and it's so many players, whether it's professional, college, even high school. You know, if you're a forward, especially if you're a 4, you got to be able to shoot, you know, from 18 to 20 feet out.
Oh, I love it. I know some centers who don't like it so much. Lydia Hawk for 3. Swish. You can find her big sister hooping it up at Bradley. You can find Lydia Hawk hooping it up here. Gabby Hawk, still the all-time record holder at Elk River in scoring, including most points in a single game. Lehner driving through traffic.
Forced it a little bit too there.
But White Bear Lake gets an open 3 out of it. And that was off to the left. Elk River cannot corral the rebound.
Got to settle down here. Things getting a little out of control here.
Step back 3, it looks short, and it is. And White Bear Lake, I know the three-point game was working early. You don't want to go away from it, but Jeremy Poster call a timeout, maybe to remind his team, don't be afraid to go inside or try to find an open lane inside. Make Elk River respect you down there.
Age-old saying goes live by the 3, die by the 3. We'll see if White Bear Lake continues to shoot it. You know, they might enact the second part of that saying, as they were living by the 3 early in this game. But I think both teams are looking for that outside shot, and I know Elk River has Joanna Langben down inside. As we take a look, last year's Section 4 4A bracket, we were there for a lot of these games here, Mike. Your White Bear Lake winning convincingly over Easters in the first round, then beating a Cretan-Durham Hall team, eventually making it to the Section 5.
I feel like we're in a time capsule with all these graphics. And yeah, White Bear Lake, they beat a Cretan-Durham Hall team that was going through a refit. Crystal Flint, her first season as head coach. And that quarterfinal round, Stillwater over North St. Paul. I'm not one to make predictions, but I'm pretty sure Stillwater, they'll be the favorite to get the 1 seed. They'll probably have a similar result with all the players they've got coming back.
They have a solid team this year, although they're in Section 5, but in the SEC, Roseville's going to have a solid team as well this year.
Roseville just under the top 10, these two schools. Elk River actually in the top 20, White Bear Lake unranked for now, but it's early.
A lot can change, especially in high school sports. It's very difficult from a broadcaster's and media perspective to predict at the beginning of the season, you know, how a lot of these teams are going to do.
3 on the way for the Bears, and their three-point stroke has misfired over the last few possessions. But you hit it on the head as Lydia Hawk goes all the way and will get 2 free throws out of it.
I mean, it is very difficult to predict in many sports, whether it's girls basketball or any of these sports that are going to go on. It's new players come in, players leave. It's very difficult to say who's going to be good as the first free throw is good from the line. There might be a team we're not even talking about. For example, White Bear Lake that's not ranked. That might be able to make their way into the top 10 come March.
Well, Woodbury brings back a couple of pieces from last year as well, and Carly West and Lexi Paulson. Hockey, there seems to be more consistency. I know that's one of your sports. Elk River now 5 of 8 for the line, where at least in the section, it's always the trio of White Bear Lake, Hill Murray, and Stillwater. And yes, I used an excuse to make a plug for White Bear Lake hockey. This is SEC after all.
Both boys and girls hockey, it is that way with those 3.
Both made it to state last year.
Plenty of coverage here on SEC for White Bear Lake this season. So looking forward to that as that progresses on the ice this year.
Shameless plug. 32-23, Elk River over White Bear Lake, and White Bear Lake, their three-point shooting was on. They were hanging with Elk River. It's fallen off a bit, and that has allowed the Elks to get a cushion of sorts.
Yeah, they've gotten a tad cold, and as we get a 3 here again, and the Elks continue to heat up.
Lydia Hawk.
And now it's a 12-point game, as I was about to say before I was rudely interrupted by a three-pointer. As I was about to say, White Bear Lake has gone cold, and as we see a turnover here, they've gone cold, and it doesn't seem like they have much of a game beyond the three-point shot right now. So that's definitely hurting them.
Well, in terms of three-point shooting, White Bear Lake and Elk River are even just about in made field goals, 5-4 in favor of the Bears. But the interior play of Langben, a huge difference. Elk River, well, you can't make all your threes. But Lydia Hawk with a nice recovery behind the back layup and a chance for 3.
Great hustle. I like keeping the play alive. Smallest player on the court gets in there, fetches the ball down, and just flips it up and in for the and one. Good job keeping the play alive there by Lydia.
Well, she's used to this kind of environment, having to play significant time as a freshman on that 2017 state championship team, and having a big sister to look up to, seeing what she's been able to do. Gabby Hawk, Player of the Year last year in the Missouri Valley Conference. Continuing to excel at Bradley, the D1 school located in Peoria. And so Lydia Hawk has plenty of role models. And Lydia showing what she can do.
My memory when I think of Bradley is when they played Kansas in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
I think it was
Patrick O'Brien was, I think, the star player for the Braves.
O'Brien, I would think it was 06. And O'Brien, he was a Minnesota graduate.
Yes, he was. That was a year where Kansas got beat from Wayne Simeon's Kansas Jayhawks got beat by Bucknell, and then Bradley and the B schools were knocking them off. Bradley was one of them.
Oh, that's why I love the tournament. Danielle Madden couldn't score for the Bears as she tried to drive it inside. Hawk, high-low to Langben, you bet.
That's a beautiful lob, beautiful post entry, and a great seal there by Langben. And finishing for 2 is obviously very important.
Langben with 11, Hawk with 17, and the Elks, just like that, they lead by 17.
And it seems it's a couple of moments ago, we were talking about just a one possession game, but now you see
16.
Turnovers and missed threes are hurting the Bears.
And Elk River finishing in transition. Langben, another bucket in the paint.
One thing I like about Johanna Langben's game is she's athletic. She can get up and down the floor fairly quickly. You saw she was ahead of the pack there. She's not a trailer like most post players will come up the back, but really, really solid player, getting down, athletic, and can make some good moves.
Here comes Elk River again. Langben can't score that time, but another turnover and another opportunity for the Elks. White Bear Lake, they've got to clean up their ball control here.
They just got to settle down. Final 2 minutes here of the half. Get a couple of scores, get a couple of stops. Try to take some momentum into the half.
1:40 to go. Backdoor to Lehner. Oh, that's a bucket they needed.
You got to finish. That was a great feed, great find. Like you mentioned, Lehner's got to finish that.
And Elk River will score on the other end. That is the double whammy, as I like to say. Double whammy, no big bucks.
Timeout here called by Jeremy Post and the Bears. This is now a 21-point advantage for the Elks with 1:29 to go, and that was quick, very quick, reminiscent. One thing that's jumping to my mind, last year's state championship when Hopkins made a huge run at Stillwater in that final. It was very close, and then all of a sudden it was a 20-point game. But they're getting up and down in transition. As you mentioned, Hawk is hitting shots from the outside. They're going inside as well. But I think the biggest part of this run is that White Bear Lake is turning the ball over. And it's unforced errors, really. It's not double teamed like it was early at the top of the key for Elk River. Unforced errors. You missed the bunny down low just on this last possession that led to 2 at the other end. It's those unforced errors that can drive a coach crazy. And right now that's what's happening for the Bears.
And as we noted in the open, White Bear Lake, they have a couple players coming back from injury. Nevaeh Hughes unable to play today. So this team having to work with a little bit of adversity. I mean, every team does, but this White Bear Lake team, they've got a couple of things to overcome, and that's not to say they won't. More than likely, if past results are an indication, they'll find a way to surprise us.
Yep.
But right now it's Elk River with all the surprises up their sleeve as they lead by 19. And again, these are a pair of dark horses, and with this being the first game of the year, you can have a bad game and it could look a whole lot different come February.
Had a good look for a shot last possession. Well, they turn it over this time.
They tried to force it, and that's not what you want after a timeout. We're gonna have a jump ball, I believe. And if it is White Bear Lake ball, but not the sequence you want from an ATO play.
What I was going to say is the last time they got a good look, couldn't finish, and they were looking for a good look again, turnover. But right now, slow it down, getting your offense, get a good look.
White Bear Lake could hit a 3 or 2 before the half is out. That might boost their confidence. It was working for them early, and they almost lost it again.
Got stuck in a double, tried to split it. That more often than not does not go well. And you saw that there, even though they are going to go to the line here.
Yeah, bailout foul by Sophia Tobin. That will be free throws for Paige Nordstrom. 1-1 here, but looking at the ball movement between the two teams, White Bear Lake, they've been trying to force it more often in traffic. Elk River, part of that coming on transition and being able to set up early, but getting a lot of cleaner looks inside.
Yeah, they're got a good game here as Nordstrom will miss the first on the front end.
White Bear Lake gets the rebound though, and Julia Julik will get a chance. Again, 1-1. Go ahead.
One thing after another right now. Turnovers, missed free throws on the front end right now. If you're the Bears, you want to try to cut into this as much as you can before halftime.
And this issue can afflict any team. You know, even Hopkins. Well, that first half we spoke of, I remember speaking with Layla Chacolis and the Hopkins players. I mean, it's a first world problem for everyone else, but they're going, this isn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
They said it was their worst half they ever played, and they made up for it in the second half in a big way. White Bear Lake getting the steal after Julik hit the free throws, so the Bears, they get the traveling call. That would have been a big chance to recapture some momentum.
You mentioned Hopkins. It seems like in Minnesota girls basketball this year, it's Hopkins' world, and we're just living in it.
They were ranked 3rd in the nation in USA Today. Of course, if you ask any coach, rankings don't mean a lick, but it's a sign of respect.
Yeah.
Elk River, that was Mass weaving through the paint. She couldn't finish. Now Lydia Hawk, a 5'4" guard, going to the trees, and she'll shoot 1-1.
Solid defensive possession there for White Bear Lake, but you can't allow the second chance opportunity you saw there for Elk River as Hawk goes back to the line.
That's the third foul on Anderson. And Hawk gets the front end to fall. Makes both. Elk River 8 of 11 from the line, 46-25. It was neck and neck until about the midway point, and then Elk River used transition offense and interior play to build a 21-point lead.
I think a lot of that had to do with the turnovers that White Bear was committing as well. See if the Bears can get on the board here before the half is over.
Laner can't break free. Threads the needle. That was a risky pass, but it pays off. Julian Julich scores, and White Bear Lake, they'll take it.
Usually if you get into the corner like that, that is not good. The last thing you want to do is pick up your dribble in the corner, but finding a way to split it, getting the bucket, and it's a 19-point game at half. That's going to be at least a little bit of confidence boost, but what a run by Elk River towards the latter part of that first half.
Lydia Hawk with 19 points. Johanna Langman pounding the paint with 13. White Bear Lake led by Ella Janicki with 8. So the Bears, they have the work cut out for them, but they have 18 minutes to try to patch things up. We'll bring you the second half in a moment. This is high school girls basketball on SEC Sports.
Vision loss is not something that you feel until it happens.
Most people lose their vision from diseases like macular degeneration and glaucoma, not at birth.
With macular degeneration, you lose your central vision.
You have a blind spot right in the center of your face, so I can't actually see your face.
So even that little circle in which I could see became a big blur.
I was 65 when I first was diagnosed with glaucoma.
There were no symptoms. I had no headaches.
3 million Americans have glaucoma, and half don't even know it.
11 million people in the United States have macular degeneration.
You lose mobility, independence, changes your entire life.
So many eye disorders can be treated if caught early.
My husband tells me that I have beautiful brown eyes, and I don't want to lose that.
Make a plan today to get your eyes checked.
Visit brightfocus.org to learn more.
Since the moment you were born, I've made 1,000 wishes. Wishes for your future in a world that's changing fast. Do play and laugh. Do win and lose. Do it all with confidence, kindness, and strength. And always do your best to remember that no matter what you do in this life, what matters to me is that you keep doing.
Crooked teeth may embarrass kids whose families can't afford braces, and trying to fix their teeth themselves can make things worse. Luckily, there's Donated Orthodontic Services, a program from the American Association of Orthodontists. For children and teens who qualify and are matched with a volunteer orthodontist, treatment can be life-changing and help them smile with confidence. Learn more at aaoinfo.org.
My husband is a wonderful man. He's a great father, funny and loving when he's not drinking. When he drinks, he becomes a complete stranger, angry and mean. Not the man I fell in love with. I've become really good at pretending everything's okay for the kids' sake, but it's taking a toll on me. I'm so angry that my husband chooses alcohol over us. If he really loved us, he'd stop drinking, right? My counselor suggested I try Al-Anon family groups. At first, I didn't understand why she wanted me to go. I'm not the one with the problem, but I'm glad I went. I heard people's stories, and they sound exactly like mine. I knew I was in the right place. Do you worry about how much someone drinks? You are not alone. Al-Anon or Alateen can help. For more information, call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at casaforchildren.org.
Sometimes there's no do-over. Some things you can't rewind. That's when an extra safety step could mean the difference between a close call and a call to 911. Simple steps save lives. Learn more at poolsafely.gov.
Elk River leads 46-27 over White Bear Lake in the season opener for both teams in high school girls basketball. Mike Beaton here alongside Ted LaRue. And Ted, with any high school sport, you never know what will happen in the first game of the year. And after a few minutes to get a feel for things, it was Elk River who took the initiative, using their defense to turn steals into offense, and then the interior play, Johanna Langman getting a few buckets down low, and Elk River looking very much like a contender in Section 8-4A.
Things started off pretty well for the Bears, neck and neck with Elk River there, but as we take a look at some highlights here, Elk River seemed to pull away. The outside shot was working for White Bear Lake here early in this one, but it was also working for the Elks of Elk River. Not on that specific shot, easy for me to say, but Lydia Hawk, who had that, just put back as well. There's Johanna Langben. She's been very instrumental in the success of the Elks here in the first half, whether it's been Hawk or Langben. Elk River, those two have been very difficult to stop here in this first half.
Difficult indeed. Hawk, 19 points in the first half. Langman, 13 points. White Bear Lake.
You're Mike Peeten, right?
Yes, I am Mike Peeten.
Someone just asked if he was Mike Peeten.
I still am Mike Peeten. And I'm not all by myself talking to myself this time. So, before I was stopped by
an adoring fan.
Paparazzi, yes. Ted, your thoughts on the second half? White Bear Lake, if they can find that three-point stroke, I think they've got a chance, but how do you work your way inside? I think that's going to be key for the Bears as well.
Got to get stops and not turn the ball over. I think those are the things that Jeremy Post has got to be preaching here in this half. If they can do that, I think they'll have a chance, but they got to get into it right away. You can't wait until the 10-minute mark, the 8-minute mark to go on a run. Got to go on a run right away. You know, if they can get this to around a 10-point game with 10 to go, they'll be in it and they'll have a chance. But as we've seen, Elk River playing extraordinary offensive basketball in the first half. They got to find a way to stop the inside game, the outside game. It's going to be tough, but if they come out, if Jeremy Post puts together a game plan and they start hitting that outside shot again, they might be all right.
Well, I'm going to find a security detail in case I get recognized again. And we'll be back for the second half. This is high school girls basketball on SEC.
I'm a veteran. We hit a mine in Vietnam. When I came home, I didn't know where to turn.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
My victory's been never giving up hope. My wife is always there to remind me we have a life to live.
DAV provides a lifetime of support, helping veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned.
I am a veteran, but after I got out, I spent 2 years alone and homeless.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans so they can reach victories great and small.
My victory was finding the support to get back on my feet. Now I'm getting things right with my family.
I finally admitted, with my PTSD, I wasn't doing well.
But there's more to be done and more victories to be won.
Now I wish I'd found DAV sooner. I am a veteran. My victory is just enjoying each day.
Help support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
It is the most amazing gift that you can give someone. Seeing individuals have an opportunity for their lives that they would never have again.
The
skills you can develop in the Army National Guard can give you an edge in the high-tech job market of tomorrow. The Guard offers career training to take advantage of your interests in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Gain practical experience with emerging technology and equipment that you can transfer to an exciting new field. Get a head start on your career while serving part-time and earning money to pay for college. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn about all of the STEM career opportunities available to you in the Army National Guard.
More than 70,000 people die from drug abuse in a year. 7.5 million people work more than one job to make ends meet. Human trafficking is a $32 billion industry in the U.S. On a single night, over 500,000 people are homeless in the U.S. Together, with thousands of corporate partners and millions of donors and volunteers, United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Together, in a year, we help more than 3 million people get health care services and support, and over 1 million people get on the path to financial stability. We help more than 2 million at-risk teens with out-of-school programs and individualized support, and over 500,000 people get back on their feet with job skills training. These are the faces of change. You can be one too.
Chiru has no choice. She and millions like her must walk miles every day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, girls can be in a classroom that expands their minds, and moms will gain back time to care for their families.
Second half about to start between White Bear Lake and Elk River, and after the game, stay tuned to find out where I'll make my next public appearance if you want autographs.
I'll try to be the first in line. No guarantees, though.
You'll be the first. I appreciate your support.
Yep.
I forget, this is my 14th season doing high school basketball, and after a while, people remember 14 years.
It's very entertaining, by the way, if you go into YouTube and you look at Mike's first game and compared it to 14 years later.
That's right, I shared it with the masses, didn't I?
Yes, it's it was St. Paul Central and somebody else.
Creek-Durham Hall.
That's right.
When they were, well, they're still in the same section, but that was the year of the St. Paul Central Super Teams before Willie Taylor took the job at Stillwater. White Bear Lake can't get the three-point shot going there. The follow-through, no good from Ella Janicki.
What were you thinking all those years ago, Mike, starting this whole thing up? Do you think it was going to be as big as it has become?
Well, I didn't know this sport would become as big as it's become, but at the time, you know, the Lynx didn't have the dynasty yet, and the Gopher women, they were okay, but that Final Four run was in the back burner. No, I wanted a chance just to call some games, and I thought it was crazy enough as Lehner goes inside, missing. Thought I was crazy or delusional enough to think, oh, if I do this for a while, I might get a job with BTN or ESPN. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm here. I'm with Valley Access, and I get recognized in by fans at games.
Believe it or not, there's a basketball game going on here.
There is, 46-27. If I'm not careful, I'm going to go full Bill Walton. I'm going to start talking about volcanoes. But the Bears looking to get some fluidity going. They found it early from the three-point line, and that could help. Kayla Anderson gets on the board.
They needed that. Great shot from Anderson from the outside, and that's a great way to start. A 16-point game. Good start. As we mentioned, from White Bear Lake, this is exactly what they needed coming out of the gate.
46-30, a long way to go, but not insurmountable. Elk River, open three, good.
That is a great skip pass by Lydia Hawk. She knew out of the corner of her eye that there was someone sitting out there on the left wing, and all she wanted to do is this, if I attract the defense a little bit, get it right out there. She did exactly that for the three.
And Alexa Engebretson, the beneficiary. She has 3 triples. Janicki. That will stay White Bear Lake ball on the simultaneous possession.
I mean, you mentioned women's basketball in the state of Minnesota and how it's grown. I think the Minnesota Lynx are a huge part of that, obviously. I definitely think Lindsay Whalen and her Final Four run, and now that she's the coach at the U of M, is helping it even more, and it's really, really grown the sport here in the state.
And having Paige Beckers going to UConn, the first Minnesota player to get picked up by that school, that's only going to elevate the profile even more. And what you noted, several of my basketball buddies told me, with Paige Beckers leading a deep senior class, Lindsay Whalen, the face of Minnesota women's basketball, coaching the hometown team and the Lynx, the dynasty may be just a memory, but it was enough to galvanize this community. As we've seen the last 15, 20 years, basketball, a huge deal here in Minnesota.
You and I were both in different capacities. We're at Game 5 of the WNBA Finals at Williams Arena.
2017, yes.
I was there as a fan, but that was quite the atmosphere, unbelievable atmosphere. One of the best I've ever been in, and it's just a credit to all the fans in Minnesota that have adopted women's basketball and been big fans of it.
Women's sports as a whole, they'll eat it up. White Bear Lake getting the steal. This is what they need. I think Julia Julik was trying to draw a foul there. Not the greatest looking of shots, and Elk River catches a break. They lead 49-30.
Bears got off to a good start, slowing down a little bit here. And the Elks a chance to increase their lead to 20 again. They just got to be patient offensively. I mean, they're up by 19. No rush on anything.
3 ball. No good from the corner. And I haven't really seen Elk River look rattled on offense. Of course, leading by 19 certainly helps, but they look composed. Julia Julik drains the 3.
Another 3. Julik, the senior, knocking it down from downtown. And good job not giving up, being patient. I mean, they could have easily forced a layup there under the hoop, possibly drawing a foul, but you know White Bear Lake wants that 3-point shot. Looks like they're going to a zone.
Hawk for 3. Yes.
You come out in a 2-3, might have been a 2-3 matchup zone or something, but a 2-3 zone nonetheless. You're susceptible to the 3-point shot, and Hawk taking advantage of that.
And Hawk goes to 22. White Bear Lake almost lost it there. We had a collision right in front of us. And that will be a foul on Elk River. That will be the 3rd. On Michaela Cannonwisher. As you know, you get 5 fouls at the high school level.
Bears just got to keep plugging away here, but eventually you're going to need a couple of 2-3 consecutive defensive stops. And it's just taken away right there by Hawk, but you got to eventually going to come up with some stops here if the Bears want to claw back into it.
Elk River swings it around, 3 ball. No good from Hawk, but Ava Burke gets the O-board. That layup is short, and Tristan Lehner gets a diving rebound. Little flip to 24, Paige Nordstrom. White Bear Lake got an open 3. Eckerly fires. That one's short. And that's a jump ball, and that's unfortunate because I think Bachmeyer would have won the scrum if she had another second.
Cannonwisher was down there, and she boxed out beautifully down there and had the inside position, yet somehow she was reaching around after. Kind of an interesting sequence down there, but sometimes the bounce of the ball can mess things up for you, but she did a great job there for a guard, boxing out and getting position down there.
Elk River in the Northwest Suburban. They'll start conference play December 5th. And then they have a big game December 6th with St. Michael Albertville, both teams in Section 8, so that one will have huge sway in the seeding. Layup no good by Cannonwisher. Langben with the O-board, Lydia Hawk can't finish, but Elk River just crashing the boards. Langben doing what she wants down low.
Yeah, they can't match up with her size, and we've talked about it all game long, is that she's, I mean, at 6'2", junior Johanna Langben towers over anybody that White Bear Lake has. The tallest player on White Bear Lake's roster is, I believe, 5'7". On the roster, there's someone listed as 5'13". I'm not sure how that works out, but
Later, the tallest at 5'10" among the regular players. She steps into a 3 off the rim. White Bear Lake gets the rebound, and that will be a foul on Langben.
Yeah, this is what happens when you have a team that relies on the three-point shot. It's hard to stay in a game. You know, obviously you want to hit threes to be able to get back into this game, but you know, at this point in the game, you guys just gotta try to keep on shooting. But sometimes it can be tough to do so with a three-point shot. We covered a game 2 years ago when Stillwater, you know, couldn't hit anything in a semifinal, section semi against Woodbury, and they ended up losing that game, even though they were probably the better team.
Well, the three-point shot's still something that Stillwater excels in, but they were able to get some balance last year when Liza Carlin transferred. Some other games of note for White Bear Lake include Matamidi. We'll have that one right here on SCC. The Battle of White Bear Lake. Those two always play each other in a rivalry game. Elk River hustling on defense again. Another jump ball, White Bear Lake with the arrow, and Elk River, they're getting after it.
What's your expert opinion on the Zephyrs this year? What are we looking for Matamidi?
Well, Matamidi had a rebuilding year last year after losing Emma Grotehouse, who is playing at Lehigh, which has become Minnesota East, all the Minnesota players. And Mackenzie Kramer's going there out of St. Michael Albertville.
I believe Hottinger from Cretin-Durham Hall as well.
Yep, Randy Hottinger. Matamidi's got a new coach this year in Erica Zizzo, so we'll see what she can do, but the experience coming back, some of the writers think Matamidi could be a dark horse in Section 4-3A. De La Salle, the heavy favorite in that group, but Matamidi, they're not going to be the pushover they were a year ago. Kind of like Elk River, you need a year to regroup and get some chemistry going with the newer contingent, but the Zephyrs, I think what Emma Grotehouse did to help build that program and give them a signature, a platform for women's hoops, looks like that's going to continue. And Matamidi, they're going to play some good competition in conference, out of conference. And of course with White Bear Lake, you know those Stillwater games will be big. A lot of folks think East Ridge will be better, and the Suburban East, Roseville, you can circle those dates as well. Roseville and Stillwater figured to be the two toughest.
Matamidi as a school continues to grow. Their facilities continue to improve. It seems like, you know, them and Tartan are always in that 5A section final.
The last couple of years they have been.
Yeah, Matamidi is very good at a lot of sports. Their soccer teams are generally pretty good, and especially the girls tend to make state runs. And their hockey team is very good in Class A, and boys, powerhouse in Class A. They always seem to be there in the state tournament at least. So Matamidi continues to grow as a school, and their athletics, the program is going to continue to grow as well.
Langben split at the line for the Elks. They lead by 20. And White Bear Lake drew the foul. They haven't been able to get much else going. And sometimes in the sport of basketball, they say it's a game of runs. Sometimes it can come down to one run.
Yeah, and right now, that run is the run Elk River had in the middle towards the end of the first half. And that's really the difference in the basketball game right now. White Bear Lake avoids a turnover.
And they draw another foul. White Bear Lake trying to get more aggressive on offense. Daniel Madden.
It's a slight touch, but what's your opinion on the officials' uniforms going to the more NBA look rather than the stripes?
Well, I'll have some time to talk about it. With White Bear Lake calling a timeout, they have one remaining. They've had that look now for the last few years, and, well, the idea of officials being inconspicuous, I guess it goes along with that theme. The stripes stand out a little more.
Yeah, yep.
That was not expecting that question out of you, Ted. Here's a look at the upcoming schedule. We talked about some of those games of note, including Lakeville South and Rosemount. White Bear Lake, an annual participant at that Pat Patterson tournament. Stillwater will be there as well. Speaking of Stillwater, they will play, that's not right.
Oh boy,
Stillwater's December 17th and 19th. If the hub site page is right, December 19th, they've got Matamidi. December 17th is Stillwater. East Ridge is December 13th, so you have, it's the right idea, right schedule. The dates are off, but the point is, after after they get through the non-conference slate in November, they'll go right into Suburban East competition outside of that Matamidi game. And with Roseville and Stillwater both in December, they're going to get a couple of big tests.
Yep. Yeah, that Roseville game is going to be interesting. I'm sure our buddy Jerry Otto might be on the call on that one over in Roseville. And then that Stillwater game, that you're really going to find out where that team is matched up with in conference, especially early in the season. And I think as a coach, Jeremy Post is going to want that. He's going to find out what kind of team he has and where he stacks up against the cream of the crop in the NCC.
Well, you and I will have that second meeting between White Bear Lake and Stillwater for that other station.
That other station that shall not be named.
On February 21st, the season finale.
So that means you will see both Stillwater White Bear Lake games here on SEC.
That's true. Nice recovery, nice recovery for White Bear Lake. Addie Bachmeyer scores. That brings her up to 5 points, 53-35. White Bear Lake with 1 timeout left, Elk River with 4.
It's all about stops here for White Bear Lake. You know, we're at the 10-minute mark. It's an 18-point game, and but Elk River, as you can see offensively, taking their time. They're not going to push anything. Great backdoor cut.
They're going to look for that interior penetration. It doesn't pay off there. There's the stop that White Bear Lake was looking for, but they had nowhere to go. They tried to force it, and it cost them. Now the Elks can go in transition. They've had some trouble finishing in the second half, but they have an 18-point lead.
And that last play on the sideline, I was kind of surprised. I mean, that's an easy play to make if you just cross over right into the middle of the court. Instead, she tries to push the issue there on the sideline right in front of the scorer's table.
And what makes that so hard is if you're going along the line, you know, that out-of-bounds line acts as an extra defender.
It does. It does. And that's why you want to stay out of the corner. That's why you want to stay off the sidelines and the baselines in general. And that's why as a defender, especially in a full court, even a half court situation like that, you want to force them to those lines.
Ellie Mass splits at the line. Elk River 10 of 15. And Elk River, some of their games of note, we mentioned St. Michael, Albertville, Maple Grove in their conference, but the two teams switch divisions, so they'll only play each other once on December 17th. That game has a ton of great matchups that day, I should say. And Tristan Lehner drives, and we'll have a chance at 3. Tristan Lehner, as we said, coming back from ACL surgery. As you know, that's an extensive process, but she's having a good showing here in her first game of the year.
If Miss Volleyball can do it, so can she, right?
Miss Volleyball being Maddie Whittington from Stillwater. Elk River missing the layup. Cannon-Wisher couldn't convert. Bears looking for a run, trying to get some momentum going. Eckerly for 3. That's long. Offensive rebound, a little too strong though on the part of Anderson. Dead ball rebound to the Bears. 9:16 to go, 54-37. Well, speaking of margins and Stillwater, it was Stillwater-Roseville last year where the Raiders had a 12-point lead, I think, with 9 minutes to go, and Stillwater just put on the accelerator on offense and was able to eke out a 60-54 win. So it can be done.
This is the key one. If you get a basket here, you can either make it a 14 or a 15-point game, a stop and a score as well. You got to go on a pretty big run here. I mean, you're under 10 minutes to go. You got to put the pedal to the metal, get stops, create turnovers, and hit shots.
White Bear Lake.
Great perimeter defense by Elk River.
Yes, White Bear Lake can't get inside, and White Bear Lake tries to thread the needle, jump ball. They have the arrow, and get some massive substitutions coming in. Janicki, Julik, and Nordstrom all going in for the Bears.
Yeah, that's tough. When you got good matchup, woman-on-woman defense like that, it's very tough to get anything going. And we've mentioned that many times tonight, but it rings true so often. And it's such a fundamental art of the game of basketball is man-to-man or woman-to-woman defense. If you can master that, you're going to have a good time defensively.
White Bear Lake throws it away. Cannon-Wisher with the steal. Will she go all the way? No, she'll have to go to the line for 2. Some other games of note for the Elks being in the Northwest Suburban. They'll play Park Center twice. Park Center, one of the top teams in 4A. They'll be a contender in Section 5, upset by Spring Lake Park last year in the semis. I mentioned Maple Grove earlier. Champlain Park, they're no slouch. Totino Gray, speaking of upsets, they're the lone 3A school in that group, but they upset Hill Murray in the 4-3A semis. So Elk River will have a lot of good teams to play. The Northwest Suburban has a good crop of teams, and a lot of the metro schools do. The Suburban East, as we know, Stillwater's been. Queens, at least they were last year. Yeah. Lydia Hawk, the queen of this game, the steal and the run out.
Yeah, she's been all over the court tonight, hitting threes, creating turnovers, getting to the basket, hustle plays. She's had a great game tonight.
Kayla Anderson not giving up, though. Gets the hoop in the hard.
Kayla Anderson has had a good game. She's hit some threes there. You see her ability to get to the basket as well, draw the foul. She'll be one player that the Bears are going to lean on here this season.
The Suburban East, say they've had some good teams. There was that one year in 2016-17 where we had a four-way tie for the conference title. Three on the way. Bullseye.
And I think for all SEC teams is it adds a little bit of a kink, not too much, but a little bit of a kink with Irondale joining the league this year. Got to add that extra conference game. Can lose a non-conference game as well. So, you know, these conferences continue to get bigger. Taking Irondale from the Northwest Suburban, as long as we were talking about that league. You know, that league was huge. I think 15. Now they're down to 14, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, to replace Irondale, they brought in Rogers.
Yep. So.
And Ellie Mass can't finish there. Elk River had the trailer, they can't put it down, but they have dominated this game for about the 9-minute mark in the first half. Elk River cannot, or I should say White Bear Lake cannot score on the other end. The Northwest Suburban is still big. The Suburban East got a little bit bigger. Yep. Irondale, not one of the front runners. They weren't in the Northwest Suburban, and as Jeremy DiGiovanni told me, as Lydia Hawk drives and scores again, and in the case of Irondale, they go from one frying pan to the other. Yeah,
solid year for Irondale volleyball this fall. Their lacrosse teams are okay, but they'll be a solid addition. We'll see how, I mean, a big-time competition in a lot of sports for the Knights.
Well, what it does is that it puts them in the same conference as Mounds View, so it creates another district rivalry that wasn't there before. But a lot of, you know, and the bigger conferences, the Lake, I know we joke about them. They have a great crop of teams, but the parity is just unbelievable. Yes. Hopkins is the heavy favorite in Class 4A. You're going to have to likely get through them to win state this year, although Elk River did that 2 years ago. But beyond Hopkins, it's wide open. Wayzata was ranked 2 in the preseason poll, but any one of those teams, it wouldn't surprise me if Elk River made it to state. White Bear Lake, they'll be a dark horse, but I think once they get some time to get adjusted to each other, they could be a team to keep an eye on. And it's just crazy as Lauren Eckerly finally gets a 3 to drop. She hadn't had one in a while. It's just crazy to think of all the teams and how closely they play with each other.
Yeah, and as this year goes on, yes, this game maybe hasn't gone the way that the Bears have wanted it to go, as we get to hear a short corner jumper that's off the mark. They're going to learn from it. You mentioned gelling. It's as time goes on, it's going to take time. I think for this Bears team. And you mentioned at the beginning of last year they struggled a little bit, but they really hit their stride at the right time. And that's all you really want, and that's all really what it comes down to. Hit your stride once March begins. Once the section tournament begins, that's when you want to hit your stride to be playing your best basketball.
Yes, now like with Stillwater Irondale, for example, some of those teams on the lower end, they have a harder time, but the teams at the top, you get a lot of close games.
You do. You're taking everybody's best shots. You got to think after a year like last year, Stillwater is going to be taking everybody's best shots. I think people know that Roseville is going to be a solid team. So when you're at the top of the league like that, hey, this White Bear Lake team went all the way to the section final. I think people know, hey, Jeremy Post is a pretty good team over there. So you're going to be taking everybody's best shot when you're at the top like that.
And remember, this White Bear Lake team made state as recently as 2017. meeting Elk River in the quarterfinals. That's going to be a foul on Cannon Wisher. Elk River, they're up comfortably here, 65-42. And Elk River out of fouls to give, so free throws the rest of the way for the Bears. I think everyone knew Stillwater was going to be a front runner, and they're going to take the best shot, and they schedule tough. They start their season tomorrow with Park Center. In fact, Park Center and Stillwater are right next to each other in the rankings.
You mentioned that's a Willie Taylor staple, is that non-conference slate. Likes to get his girls ready to go by the time they get into conference, whether it's been Stillwater or St. Paul Central. We know Willie. He likes to, to beat the to be the best, you got to beat the best. I think is the mindset there. So.
Well, his non-conference schedule, only 8 non-conference dates this year with the addition of Irondale, but continuing the series with Hopkins, Eden Prairie, and Wayzata. Park Center in the Tip-Off Classic. Farmington, ranked 3rd. They've got Sophie Hart, who the Gophers are making a play for, the junior. Farmington at the Pat Patterson Tip-Off at Hamlin. So a lot of great games. And White Bear Lake, like we said, just got to keep pushing. Even though you're not going to get the win here, this is game 1 out of a possible 32. So every play is a chance to take notes, and Eddie Bachmeyer certainly taking that to heart.
When I look at the SEC this year, obviously we've talked about it before, the Ponies and Raiders appear to be the top teams. Looking at all the banners of the teams here on the wall at the gym here, you got to think White Bear Lake is going to fit in pretty nicely, possibly right after those teams, don't you think?
They've got a chance. Cretin-Durham Hall, that's another team that we don't know a lot about.
Yeah.
They lost Franny Hottinger, and it looked like they were going to go into some lean times. They picked up a couple of transfers. Park of Cottage Grove, they had to rebuild after losing a lot of seniors. They should be better than they were a year ago. And Park of Cottage Grove is kind of like White Bear Lake. They don't have superstars all the time, but they've got great athletes, as we've seen. A lot of multi-sport athletes with their softball success. A lot of those players also play basketball. So it wouldn't surprise me if Park makes a run or two. Forest Lake, everyone expects them to drop off a bit. They graduated a lot of seniors. Woodbury, I think another one of those mid-pack teams. Mounds View, they've got Lindsey Becker, the D2 commit. I don't know if they have much else yet. They're trying to build that program up. So Stillwater, Roseville are probably going to be 1-2. That game December 13th, when those two play each other, will be big, but there's usually a few surprises in that Suburban East. The team that White Bear Lake will see in December. Elk River will also play Roseville January 3rd.
I think I like covering SEC, the Suburban East Conference. It's one of the best conferences out there. Really in any conference, big school, small school, doesn't matter. You look at the big school conferences, you look at the Suburban East Conference, you look at the Lake Conference, the Northwest Suburban, as
South
well.
Suburban.
South Suburban is pretty good, especially in girls basketball.
And volleyball.
And volleyball, yes. But they're one of the best conferences out there, and it's fun to see them match up and go head to head. And these matchups usually turn out pretty good. So.
Michaela Cannon-Wisher at the line. And the Northwest Suburban, they produce a lot of talent as well, I think, as you were alluding to. And you look at some of those names again, like Totino Grace, maybe not one of the top teams, but they got that big upset over Hill Murray and Maple Grove and Park Center, Champlain Park. They all have fielded strong teams, past and present. So there aren't a lot of easy games in the Northwest Suburban, and in the Suburban East, that's going to be tough too. And the teams up top, Willie Taylor's never going to say we're going to go 16-0. Most coaches are they're worried about how they can be beat, but it wouldn't surprise me if Stillwater goes undefeated.
It wouldn't surprise me either. But those Roseville matchups are going to be pretty good. These Bears might sneak up on them. They almost snuck up on them in the section final at Hastings. So anything can happen when you have a strong conference like the Suburban East Conference is, as we just mentioned. Anything can happen. You might have that off night, and and that off night might come into play once seeding comes around.
That off night might happen as Hawk gets a little bit of a push off there. You might have an off night and your opponent doesn't.
Exactly.
That's why those single elimination tournaments that are ubiquitous in high school create a lot of fun and wacky storylines, as we saw in section play a year ago.
That's why high school sports is so fun to cover. The unpredictability at times, the great plays, these kids putting it all out on the line out there, you know, to make it to state, make it to Target Center, Xcel Energy Center, all these great venues that we have in the Twin Cities. It's really fun covering this week in and week out. Could be covering college sports, pro sports, but I always thought high school is where it's at. A lot of fun, a lot of unpredictability.
I wouldn't mind doing college either. I mean, well, look what happened. Who was that team that knocked off Kentucky as we've got a timeout?
Evansville.
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 I mean, you could be the next Evansville or George Mason. Well, on the women's side, I think South Dakota State made the Sweet 16 for the first time ever.
Jackrabbits, yep.
Buffalo and Missouri State as well. So, you know, there's always who's going to be that next team. Here's a look at our upcoming broadcast. Matamidi and Eastridge is our next one. Jeff Disher will have that one for you. Hill Murray Matamidi boys hockey, that's a fun one. December 17th, Ted, I know you've circled that one.
If I had a telestrator, I got my finger on the screen right now, by the way, I would circle December 17th a bunch of times. I'm very jealous of, I believe, Alex Westad is covering that game.
Well, maybe the two of you can join forces. Girls basketball, Matamidi St. Croix Lutheran. St. Croix, another one of those dark horses in the Tri-Metro. They'll play Matamidi. And December 19th, Ted and I will be back here for White Bear Lake Matamidi, the rivalry game. But yeah, Hill Murray, White Bear Lake, I think that produced one of your favorite lines. I don't know if you had that planned or if it just came out of the blue.
It just came to me, yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen you had that much fun at a hockey game.
It's amazing. I've covered high school sports, sports in general, called games ever since 2010. Radio and TV. That rival, that's about as that's the most energy I've ever felt in a building in a regular season game. I mean, that Hill Murray, White Bear Lake, considering you only get it one time a year, is there's so much riding on that rivalry because it plays so big into section seating. In Section 4AA, for those boys, you know, those Hill Murray and White Bear Lake are usually the top two seeds. The winner of that one usually is the number one seed going in. That's such a great game. The rivalry is so big. There's been players who are playing now in the NHL, so that's been one of their favorite games that they've ever played in, regardless of level. So when the Pioneers and the Bears get together, it's going to be a lot of fun. So have fun, Alex.
Well, they need a color guy, right? Lydia Hawk.
We'll see. Allison has been doing a pretty good job with him as well. So.
Alex and Allison.
Yep.
Well, you know what, Ted? Maybe we ought to get your boss to call the game.
You know, it's funny that you say that. She's like, your job's not that hard. I'm just like, okay. And she does it great. And she's like, give me a situation. And I'm like, all right, 3rd and 10 with 30 seconds to go. And she pulls it off. So one of these days we might get Bridget LaRue on camera. So
yes, I know your extended family and who officially christens me as Mike Pete's voice, who will narrate Kayla Anderson's layup. They enjoy my voice, but that'd be cool as well. But I've had the chance to do the White Bear Lake Hill Murray rivalry for a couple of years. Yep. One as a camera op. Well, one as a camera op, then I produced it because we couldn't get the truck in there that one night.
Yep.
And then the last year's game at Vadnais. Sold out crowd, you can't ask for anything more. Aldrich, one of my favorite venues.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I said, I've been in this community or in this area for about 3 years now in the East Metro. And I don't recall the Aldrich Arena, last one at Aldrich Arena the regular season. It'll be interesting to see what the atmosphere is like in a bigger arena like that.
They get a crowd.
Oh, definitely. I can imagine. But another thing with that is those section finals are so. I mean, Aldrich Arena. First of all, Aldrich is a fantastic arena. Around here, we're very lucky. A historical arena over there off White Bear Avenue in Maplewood. But, man, those section finals are hockey in Minnesota when you get to the last weekend in February, whether you're playing at Aldrich or I know one of the sections is at Mariucci and a few of these other rinks. A lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. There's never a seat to be had at Aldrich Arena. It is that section final. It's always a great, great day here in Minnesota.
Natalie Murphy at the line for the Elks, and she'll get on the board, and that draws an emphatic applause from the Elk River bench. Kayla Anderson fouled out, and she got a high five from Jeremy Post as both coaches acknowledged this is only game one.
Yep.
So they're not going to take too much stock per se. They're not going to get too caught up in the outcome of this, but this will be a good win for Elk River. They have some things that I'm sure they'll want to patch up. The second half not as fluid as the first half, but Lydia Hawk, a fantastic debut to her senior season with 28 points. And White Bear Lake, they hung in there for a few minutes with the 3-point stroke. And I think over time, as Lehner gets back to 100% and some of the other players recover from injuries, and don't forget Nevaeh Hughes unable to play tonight, once White Bear Lake clears these early season hurdles, I've got a feeling the Bears will put up some stronger performances over time.
I think they'll figure it out. As we said, they're going to have a couple of tough matchups once Suburban East play gets started. But as I think they're going to compete right there, right. You know, they might even compete with Roseville for the number 2 spot in the conference. I think Stillwater far and away is the most talented team in the league. As we get a 3 here from the corner and it's off the mark. But I think White Bear Lake is going to be able to compete. Once they gel together, we know they can hit the outside shot. We know that for sure. We know Ella Janicki can do some things offensively. We know she's got a good game, but they got to get some other option besides the 3-point shot. I think if they can develop that, I think they'll have some success, especially in conference play.
And again, only one scrimmage for these two teams, so not a lot of time to gel. As we say, the mistakes you'll see in November, you're not going to see in February. You'll see a lot more fluidity. White Bear Lake, they certainly have the pieces. It may not be apparent tonight, but give it time. And Elk River, they'll play some top-tier competition as the season moves along. White Bear Lake certainly no slouch, but if you're the Elks, I think there's a lot of positives you can take from this game.
Yep.
And again, you'll want to up the efficiency in the second half, but they are playing like the contender that a lot of folks think they could be in Section 8.
Yeah, Elk River will be fun to follow here as this season progresses. We definitely know, obviously, in women's basketball, when you got someone over 6 foot and when you got a player like Johanna Langben in there, 6'2", the junior, and she's only going to get better as her career progresses. They're going to be fun to watch, especially with Lydia Hawk as well. So, although White Bear Lake falls tonight, I think they learned a lot here from this game. Got to develop a second part of their game, but I think they're going to get stronger and better as the year goes on.
Absolutely. This is game 1 out of a possible 32, as we've noted before. 69-50 is the final. Elk River begins the 2019-2020 season undefeated. White Bear Lake still looking for their first win. The big difference was on that run in the first half where Elk River went up by 20. Like we said, sometimes basketball's a game of runs. You only need one, but the ball handling, the guard play, Lydia Hawk, the distribution, the scoring, and then Johanna Langben getting a lot of buckets inside in the first half. That was the difference for Elk River, and if they've got that 1-2 tandem set up with Hawk running the floor and Langben pounding in the paint, Elk River, they could go places.
Yeah, and you mentioned when they went up by 20, right? That was a big run, a 19-point margin. So that was the difference in the game, that one run right there. And, you know, if White Bear Lake could have hung on there, you know, we'll see. But, you know, Elk River is a tough team. They're a good team. I think Coach Post and the whole team is going to learn a lot from this matchup.
Hawk with 28 points to lead all scores. Langben with 14 for Elk River. Notables for White Bear Lake, Tristan Lehner and Julia Julich with 9 points. 69-50 is the final. Elk River winning the season opener. For Ted LaRue and the rest of our SCC crew, I'm Mike Beaton. Thank you for watching high school girls basketball.